Noah Lyles and Fred Kerley will be the next Donovan Bailey and Michael Johnson. Let me explain. In the mid-90s, Michael Johnson and Donovan Bailey were both known as the world's fastest man. Michael Johnson dominated the 200 and the 400, while Donovan Bailey was king of the 100 meters. This title of the world's fastest man created a distinct rivalry between the two that eventually boiled over into a $1 million race. This beef really started leading up to the Atlanta 1996 Olympic Games. Both coming off world championship victories in 1995, these athletes were primed to do their very best at the biggest meet in the world. The Olympic schedule originally wasn't very favorable for the 200 and 400 meter double, so Michael Johnson ended up petitioning to get the schedule changed, which would allow him to have more rest to be able to do the 2 and the 4. This appeal was successfully granted. This pissed Donovan Bailey off, who's seeing Michael Johnson getting special treatment compared to all other athletes. Both men put on an absolute clinic at the 1996 Olympics. Donovan Bailey ended up getting the world record in the 100, as well as Michael Johnson, who got the world record in the 200. After that, Michael Johnson became the first ever man to win gold in both the 200 and the 400 at the Olympic Games. This beef got started when Bob Costas claimed that Donovan Bailey was not actually the world's fastest man. It was Michael Johnson because his time of 19.32, when you divide that in half, would be faster than what Donovan Bailey ran in the 100 for his world record. But you can't just divide a 100 meter in half and claim that that is what your 100 meter time is, because you're going to be getting a running start in that second 100. Also, Otto Bolden chimed in saying that he believed Michael Johnson was in fact the world's fastest man and not Donovan Bailey. The press ran with this and a new rivalry was born. Long story short, these two would go back and forth for a long period of time until it came to accumulation of a head-to-head race for a 150 meters with $1 million on the line. On June 1st, 1997, the two men finally squared off at the Toronto Sky Dome in a 150 meter race, 75 meters curved, 75 meter straights. This was supposed to be the race of all races, but unfortunately, Michael Johnson pulls up halfway with an apparent injury, and we don't actually get to see the race that we all wanted to. The buildup for this meet was huge. Everyone was looking forward to it. It was going to be the biggest rivalry we've ever seen in track and field. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see the race we all wanted to. While it got cut short, the lead up to the competition is what made it so great. There were fans that were getting involved, athletes getting involved, everyone did, and it made it even more interesting and exciting. Now, how does this compare to what Noah Lyles and Fred Kerley are potentially doing? Over the weekend, both Noah Lyles and Fred Kerley stated that they plan on winning the double next year at the World Championships, the 1 and the 200. Despite originally being a 400 meter runner, Fred Kerley has shown to be completely dominant in the 100 recently. He was your 2022 world champion, as well as running a time of 9.76. Noah Lyles has been equally, if not more dominant in the 200, running a time of 19.31, beating Michael Johnson's American record at the time. While both of the athletes have proven themselves to be dominant in their individual event, where it gets interesting is how they compare against each other in their secondary events. In the 100 meters, Noah Lyles has ran a time of 9.86, which when you look at the world rankings point system, that's 1,255 points. Fred Kerley has a PR in the 200 with a time of 19.76. That's 1,258 points. So their 100 and 200 times are very, very similar. But how do they compare when you look head to head, you may ask? Well, that's where this gets even more interesting. Fred Kerley is undefeated against Noah Lyles when it comes to the 100. He's 4-0 over that distance. Yet, Noah Lyles is also undefeated when it comes to the 200, where he is 5-0. But these men aren't just racing against themselves. They're also racing against 6 other athletes in 2 of the deepest events that we're seeing in the entire track and field landscape today. In the 100, you have Trayvon Bromell, Marvin Bracey, Lamont Jacobs, Andre DeGrasse, Fernand Omanyala, and much more. In the 200, you have Kung Fu Kenny, Joseph Fahnbulleh, Arian Knighton, Andre DeGrasse, and much, much more. So these two athletes have it cooked out for them when it comes to racing against each other. If there's a year to go for the double, this is the year to do it. Both of these men won the world championships in their respective event and also lost the Olympics in their respective event the year before. So this is the year to go for it. You already won the world championship, so going and winning another world championship wouldn't mean as much in your singular event. So you're definitely going to want to get another world championship in a different event so you can broaden your scope and the medals that you already have. The men's sprint is extremely competitive. And is it possible that one of them could do the double? Sure, I think it's possible. Is it likely? Oh, hell no! They're going up against extremely deep fields, and to just decide that one of these two men are going to get the double when neither of them have even qualified for the final in these events makes me think that it's a little bit suspicious. Both of these men are going to have to show some significant improvements in their secondary event. Fred Kerley is going to have to improve on that 200 because if you're running 19.76, that's not going to be able to be good enough to beat Noah Lyles. You're going to have to be in those 19.4s, if not 19.3s in order to beat him. If you're Noah Lyles, that 9.86 that you ran back in 2019 isn't going to be fast enough to be able to win the world championships. As of recently, he hasn't been able to get down there yet. So if they're both start to train more in those off events, I think it would be possible for them to do it. If I were to look at who has a quote unquote better chance of winning this double, I'd say probably Noah Lyles is in the better opportunity just based off of where his 200 meter is. That 19.31 ain't no joke. And it's a much bigger difference when it comes to how fast you already are and how fast you need to get in your secondary event. It's much bigger of a time difference than Fred Kerley is, because Fred Kerley has to improve significantly in that 200 in order to be in that rankings for the 200 gold. Noah Lyles only has to improve a little bit. Now, it's still a significant amount, it's still a 100th of a second, but it's a lot less than what Fred Kerley has to show over the 200 meters. But once again, I think this is the start of a very exciting rivalry. I hope that they go with it and run with it and make this something that gets track and field into everything. They both have been showing much more personalities on social media, whether it be on Twitter, on Instagram, at track meets. They're all been very loud and very exciting and showing who they are, and they're willing to put themselves out there and their competitive drive. And that's stuff that makes track and field better. And so if I was one of them, I would be continuing this. I would be pushing this narrative and really making that 2023 World Championship mean a whole lot. Saying, look, I'm going for the double. I'm gonna beat Noah Lyles. I'm going for the double. I'm gonna beat Fred Kerley. Like, cause you know, they both tweeted about this within an hour of each other. So they know each other are trying to go for it. And I would love to see them really brewing this thing up and making it be a huge thing, just like we saw in the 90s with Michael Johnson and Donavan Bailey.